goes to Treasure Island in the next year, including Gabriel Iglesias.
Feels like the first time.
On July 31st, Joe Bonamassa.
I've been waiting for a girl like you.
On August 15th, and Snoop Dogg.
And she's buying the stairway to heaven.
On September 5th, get the complete details on all of our upcoming shows on the concert page at KFAN.com, keyword calendar. I wish you would have done a rap song for Snoop Dogg.
I was going to do Can't Touch This. Can't Touch This. That's the only other rap song I really know. And Tenneby, before we dive into 534, I'm about to say something controversial.
That's interesting.
You know, in regards to what a great coup it was to trade for the Hughes character.
Yeah.
We were also saying the same thing about the acquisition of Suter and Parisi all those years ago.
Oh my gosh.
Just full disclosure, we thought they were the Skatriots, and look at it.
This is a whole nother level on those two.
Well, right. Again, we'll see if it's a whole nother level.
Those two were star players. Quinn Hughes is a superstar. There's a whole nother level. He's in another stratosphere.
All right, we'll see.
We will see.
We'll see. I'm not sure.
Not guaranteeing they're going to win cups, but Quinn Hughes compared to those two is...
I'm not sure I believe it yet. I have to see more. Players like that are about McKinnon. He told his team, climb on my back.
Yeah.
Dylan Hughes didn't do that.
Quinn Hughes?
Quinnesota, that's right. Dylan Hughes is, I think, an author. Sorry. Anyway, let's do a little...
Time now for 5 questions. Well, actually 3, but 5 sounds like more than 4. Brought to you by Willow River Company. Question number 1. It's time now to consider the course.
Yeah, the PGA Championship is underway at Aronimink Golf Club in Newtown Square, Pennsylvania. Common, what is your prediction on who will win, and who is your dark horse selection?
I'm going to go out on a limb. I feel like I'm forced to take Scotty Scheffler to win. He shoots a 268 today, tied for 5th, or not tied for 5th, but in 5th place. One back of Potgieter, Yager, Lee, and how do you say his name? Histutuni. You know how to say it. You've said it before to me.
Scotty Scheffler is not 2 under. That's Schauffele.
Oh, is that Schauffele? Oh, got the wrong guy.
Yeah. I think Scheffler might have just teed off.
Is it Histu? How do you pronounce his name? Do you know?
Let's just say Hizitsoon?
Yeah, I thought you knew because I know you've said it before.
I've never said his name before.
Oh, you haven't? I thought for sure you did on leaderboard updates. Well, you're the leaderboard guy. You need to figure that out. Look, I got a fall guy right away. Yeah, I mean, I'd go with Scheffler. I'm not going to do the old and dark horse. I don't think there is a dark horse per se. I think you take the names of it's like they do on the Power Trip Morning Show. You take the 10 best, 15 best players in the world, and you just put their name in a hat and draw it out. There's always, a chance that some guy kind of out of nowhere, when I say out of nowhere, a guy that people that follow the tour on a regular basis will recognize the name, but your average sports fan will have no idea who it is. But I know you want something probably more creative, but that's what I would say is I just think
Scheffler's just teeing off on one.
He's starting his round right now, so I would take Scotty Scheffler to win, and my dark horse would be Scotty Scheffler to win. Thank you.
Question number 2.
We're gonna win, Twins, we're gonna score.
It's now time to delve deep into Twins territory.
Crack out a home run, shout a hit, hooray! Cheer for the Minnesota Twins today.
After consecutive 4 strikeout games and an ongoing slump with 11 strikeouts and 14 at-bats, the Twins demoted outfielder Matt Wallner to Class AAA St. Paul today. Wallner, who started the season as the Twins' everyday right fielder, was batting .167 with 4 homers, 10 RBI, and 53 strikeouts in 120 at-bats. His negative 0.8 WAR was the second worst in the majors, according to Fangraphs. Common, do you still have any hope for Matt Wallner?
Well, the question should be to the Poll That Pocket Protectors, do they? Anytime the Twins draft somebody that has even a modicum of success in the minor leagues, they talk about the silver linings. These guys are going to be great players. We've heard it about Wallner. We've heard it about Lewis. We've heard it about who's our Larnach. I mean, the list goes on. Brooksley. The list goes on and on and on. These guys have a chance to be star players, and it's sort of just par for the course, I guess. That's too bad because he does have talent, and he's shown it. The thing is, he just doesn't do it often enough. There's a lot of guys like that, right, in the big league. You don't get to the big leagues unless you're a pretty good baseball player, right? I say that all the time. You don't get to be a head coach in the NFL if you don't know your X's and O's. It doesn't mean you're great at it, but you know it pretty well. Same thing with baseball players. If you get promoted to a big league roster, you're pretty good. But, man, once you get to that next level, it's like the same thing like we talk about college football. How many Division I college football teams are there? Tend to be 300? Is it that many? I think that's roughly the number. Well, how many NFL teams are there? There's 32. So you're taking the best of the best and put them in there. And so it appears Wallner's one of those guys. Good. But he just doesn't have the consistency to say there. And it's too bad because that was a guy that they were kind of hitching the wagon to. Same with Larnach and all these other guys. And Royce Lewis, hitching our wagon to these guys. That these other guys are going to be the foundation of a team that we think can, be competitive and win a division title, get to postseason, and maybe by hook or by crook and a couple of good pitchers, maybe actually even get to an ALCS or a World Series. But it's a crapshoot with all these guys, I think.
Question number 3.
Go Vikings, let's win this game. You'll hear us yell for more.
It's now time to take an in-depth look at the state of the skull.
Alec Lewis from The Athletic did a column about Vikings offseason winners and losers. For winners, he has Rob Brzezinski, Keenan McCardle, Dallas Turner, Blake Brandel, Matt Daniels. For losers, he has people expected a definitive answer at quarterback, Thad Bogardus, Levi Drake Rodriguez and Tyron Ingram Dawkins, Walter Rouse, Dwight McLaughlin, and Zamaya Vaughn. Common, who would you say has been the biggest Vikings offseason winner and the biggest Vikings offseason loser?
I didn't recognize one of those names in the loser. I have no idea who those people are.
You don't know who Thad Bogardus is?
No, I don't. I don't know who any of them are.
He's the outside linebackers coach.
Is Brzezinski really? Why is he a loser? What happened to him? I'm assuming.
Because Grenard.
Oh, I see, yeah.
Because they now have a hole at edge rusher. They're just behind Bang
so in other words, it wasn't because he's a terrible coach. He lost. He's because he doesn't have a player. Yeah, that would be. I think Grenard is.
And then Levi Drake Rodriguez and Tyron Ingram Dawkins are interior defensive linemen. Obviously, they drafted Caleb Banks and Big Citrus.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. And again, I will see how much the Grenard departure hurts the Vikings defensively. I tend to believe that I always need a little convincing because, the Duckies and Bunnies are always going to say, this is great, that's great, everything's wonderful. That, B-Flow knows how to put players in the right position. You give them the right guys. It's a different defense than everybody else plays. I'm starting to tend to believe that a little bit, and that if he does find players that you go, well, yeah, in a conventional defense that doesn't blitz as much as we do and do the things we like to do, he's a good player. With us, he's a great player, at least for what we ask him to do. And I kind of think that was what Grenard was. He was, if I'm not mistaken, he was hurt much of last year. Is Brzezinski a winner? And what was the expectation there? Just because everybody likes him and they think the draft went well or what? Because, I still don't know if he's going to get the job. If he doesn't get the job, doesn't he become a loser? Because I think he expressed interest in saying, I think he publicly said, I'd like to have the job as general manager.
Alec wrote, ownership didn't have a choice. When the Wolves fired former GM Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, they turned to Brzezinski to bridge the gaps in trust and respect between the front office and coaching staff. For the most part, Brzezinski aced the test. He navigated the team through a salary cap cleanup, a quiet free agency, the controversial trade of Jonathan Grenard, and a crucial draft. Only time will allow for an accurate assessment of his effectiveness At the very least, the Vikings proceeded through this period with a more realistic sense of alignment. Now he is perhaps the favorite to become the GM's full-time GM, or a fixture in a new look structure pairing him with an executive focused on personnel.
Well, we'll see if that's correct. I mean, I think most of what he said about what happened since the time he was named GM and for what he's done for the or interim GM and for what he's done for the franchise during his time here is pretty accurate. But and maybe that's what the conclusion. They hired that search firm. And I don't recall its name anymore, but to help conduct the search for a new general manager. And when there are like 30 different names, I mean, it's just, they could have just taken the Chicago phone directories for as many people as they said were, they were requesting a permission to interview with. So I don't know if that bodes well for Brzezinski or not. You would think if they thought Rob was the guy that they wouldn't really need to go through all these machinations, but we'll see. I'm more interested in the schedule release tonight, Tenneby. What's the name of that show tonight? It's Lieber, Bursic, and PA. What time is that on?
7 o'clock.
Oh, no.
You can listen on the iHeartRadio app, or you can watch KFAN.com/watch.
I'm going to be in a hyperbaric chamber, so I'm not going to be able to listen or watch. That's a bad break for me.
You know what else you can watch?
What's that?
The Program Password Invitational tomorrow.
Ooh.
1:15.
Yeah. Cove and
you and Corey Cove versus Audra Martin and Kevin Gordon.
We're looking forward to it. We'll take a break as we do. By the way, 534 brought to you by my friends at Willow River Company. They're so good at what they do. I mean, Nick over at Willow River has walked me through the process. We put some new sod in and some trees and plants. Water is his instructions to me. So I've been telling me I like holding a hose in one hand, a cup of coffee in the other, and just gently watering my new vegetation. But they do landscaping, they do holiday lights, they do snow removal, they'll do your irrigation system. They do so much. They'll take care of your trees, which they've done that for me. For all of your property needs, I highly recommend my friends at Willow River. WillowRiverCompany.com to find out more. WillowRiverCompany.com. Tenneby's got a keyword.
The Fan and BigDeck.com want to give you a shot to win bonus bucks with our national cash contest. Enter the keyword media at KFAN.com. Right now for a shot at winning, the keyword is media. Enter now at KFAN.com.
And that's it for today's edition of 5 Questions. Well, actually 3 questions, but 5 sounds like more than 4. The Common Man.
I used to love him. I don't love him anymore. I don't.
Weekdays.
This is back on KFAN. We have 9 chances for you to win $1,000 every weekday. That's every hour from 9 a.m. until 5 p.m. To enter the keywords and learn more, head to KFAN.com. Bonus Bucks is presented by BigDeck.com.
Couple 13-14 pastime common. The legendary Mark Rosen waiting in the wings. He'll join us, I think. Was he back yesterday? He was
back yesterday.
He was, okay. Does he have laryngitis again today, or do you think he has commongitis? He just sometimes doesn't want to be here when I'm here. Maybe that's what it is.
His voice was a little off yesterday.
Okay. How about his thoughts? Were they coherent? Because those are often off sometimes, too. He'll join us at about 2 o'clock or so. You're getting ripped, by the way.
Yeah. Shocking.
Yeah, this one says, funny, Tanner first said that after acquiring that player, he thought they could win the cup. Now he's saying it was never enough to win the cup. What does that mean? Is he talking about the Suter Parisi? Is he talking about?
I'm guessing it's Quinn Hughes.
Quinn Hughes,
I think.
Quinn Hughes, yeah. What happened?
What, they could have won the cup.
Oh, they could have?
Yeah, I mean, if they get by Colorado, they're the favorite to win the next series. And they would be on par with Carolina in the Stanley Cup. So they're right there. It's hockey, man.
Only Wild fans think this team is good enough to win a cup. This is my favorite day of the year, the day the Wild get booted from the season. Then Tenna loses his mind and makes claims that the Mild are better than they really are. Are you making claims that they're better than they are?
Am I losing my mind?
Well, I don't know if you're losing your mind, but I think you are making claims that they're better than they are.
No, I've said they're a top 4 or 5 team in the league, and I stand by that. And a loss to the best team in the league doesn't change that.
Common needs more pepper on his lunch. That's not pepper. That's actually avocado avocado toast seasoning. But I get what you're saying. I had plenty on there. Thank you. Next one would be Ryan Suter, 45 career playoff points. Quinn Hughes, 49 points. Case closed. What do you think of that tend to be? They have basically the same amount of playoff points.
How many games was Ryan Suter playing in?
I think Quinn Minnesota is basically a poor man's Ryan Suter. Well, but he'll be a rich man pretty soon because he's going to get a lot of money. Now, do you think he will also have what was that thing that was written about Suter and Parisi? They didn't want the stigma
of the 9-figure deal.
They didn't want the stigma. That's why they signed for less. I'll be curious to see. I'm not happy about what happened. Epic collapse last night. Up 3-0 after one period, up 3-1 after two, 4 minutes to go. They give up 2 goals, including one with about $120 something to go with the empty net. They lose in overtime. So I just Googled Epic Minnesota sports collapses. They said the list is too long to print right now. No, it says Minnesota sports are defined by historic heartbreak. That's what it says. This is what Google says. Minnesota sports are defined by historic heartbreak. And I think that's true.
Well, there's no doubt.
Ranging from the 2024 Twins late season collapse, blowing an 11-game lead, and the 2026 Wild's 3-0 playoff lead meltdown, to the Vikings' infamous 0-4 big game record and the 91 North Stars finals loss. These collapses often feature blown leads and missed high-stakes opportunities. The most recent would be the 2024 Twins collapse. Well, first it's the Wild. It says the Wild blew a 3-0 first-period lead against the Colorado Avalanche, losing 4-3 and being eliminated from the playoffs. They called the Game 5 meltdown. Minnesota Twins 2024 collapse. Following a 10.5-game advantage over Detroit on August 17th, the Twins finished the season 12-25, dropping from a 95.8% playoff probability to missing the postseason entirely. And 3 teams from the Central made it that year. Kansas City, Detroit, and Cleveland. Then it has Minnesota Vikings 2024 wildcard loss. Despite a strong season, the team saw a disastrous blowout end to their season in the wildcard round. They did get blown out, didn't they? Yeah, they got blown out by the Rams.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't we lose by like 20?
Felt like more.
Historical heartbreak. Vikings big game losses in big game 4, 8, 9, and 11. 4 appearances, meat sauce wins, that's 0. Often falling behind early or failing to perform in the biggest game. 91 North Star Stanley Cup loss. Reached the finals as a heavy underdog, but failed to secure the cup. 26 Gophers bowl game. The Gophers blew a 31-point lead against Texas Tech in the Insight Bowl, losing 38-7 after leading by massive. Oh, yeah. Okay, I see it. It ended up being 38-7 at that point. Sort of like when the Vikings lost to Philadelphia in the NFC Championship game back in 2017. We were up 7-0, and we ended up giving up 37 unanswered points. 1964 Jim Marshall's wrong way run. I don't know if that's an epic collapse, but it was a. I don't think Jim would have thought it was real funny, but it was amusing because he did a scoop and scored. The only problem is he ran into his own end zone, and then it resulted in a safety against the Purple. Then there's the 5 broken hearts moments. According to local lore and authors focusing on the history of heartbreak, other notable failures include the Twins' record-setting 18-game playoff losing streak against the Yankees, the 2000 and 2017 NFC Championship blowout losses, 41 meat sauce against the Giants. And then, of course, going to be the literal collapse of the Metrodome roof in 2010. And that might be the biggest collapse of all.
I always love that one. And
then we had to play on a Tuesday night, regardless of what night it was, at the Silverdome in Pontiac, Michigan. So, yeah, it has been... and, you know, every city has their list of those. Didn't the Yankees lead the Red Sox in the ALCS 3 games
Yes.
to none, and they lost 4 games. So the Cubs have had epic collapses before. There's the Bartman game, and there was also the Cubs back in, I think, 60 when the New York Mets won the National League pennant, and then won the playoffs, and then beat Baltimore for the amazing Mets, beat them 4-1. I think Chicago had one of those massive 13-game lead with a month to go in the season, and they just completely collapsed. Much like I also think the Brooklyn Dodgers collapsed and let the New York Giants overtake them. That was back in the Willie Mays days. But so there have been a lot of teams that have had epic collapses. There's no question about that. But we've had our fair share as well. Someone said, asked me on text message, who will win the next championship in Minnesota? My question would be, which team will have the most epic collapse next? That seems more likely than a championship. But we'll have to wait. You know what? We can do it. We're going to win a championship one of these decades, one of these centuries.
Maybe that collapse will come as early as tomorrow night in Game 6, Wolves versus Spurs.
Or what if Cove and Common lose in program? We're the 2 seed. No! We're highly regarded. I think that 2 seed is mostly based on Corey Cove.
Well, yeah.
I mean, I'm surprised with me that we're as high as a 2. I know he's really good, but I would think Cove being saddled with me would have put him at about 4. But we'll take it, and it should be fun tomorrow. We'll break, come back. Got a couple of other items I want to bounce off Tinneby, and then we'll welcome the legendary Mark Rosen into the conversation here on the Common Man program on the Fan.
Find out who, when, and where the Vikings will play this fall.
Want to chime in on what's happening with your favorite KFAN program? Make your voice heard on the Bradshaw and Bryan text line. Let us know what you have to say by texting your message to 64686. That's 64686. Standard message and data rates apply.
As I'm watching the PGA Championship live from Aronimink, it's the 108th PGA Championship, Newtown Square, just outside of Pennsylvania. They were doing a promotional message about the upcoming UFL season, United Football League. Tinneby, can you tell me one player who plays in the United Football League? I can't name a player. I can't name a team. And I wonder, was the very first summer league the USFL 20, 30 years ago, whatever it was? I feel like we've had like 4, 5, or 6 different iterations of summer leagues that always, they start and they fold. They start and they fold. They're promoting games this coming Saturday. And I know football is popular, but are you and I in the minority? Because I think you're like me, that you like the NFL, but 6 months is plenty of pro football. After that, I don't mind a little hockey, a little basketball, some baseball, golf, or whatever, and, things to do with the family. I just don't need year-round football.
Especially when it's lesser talent.
Exactly. I don't know how it survives and if it will, but the major networks, they've put money now. Obviously, I don't think it's the kind of money that's generated by the NFL, but ABC and ESPN, they're broadcasting games. I don't think we had anything like a schedule release party for any of the UFL teams. I don't think. Do they even do do they do a draft? How do they get their players? I never hear about the UFL draft. I never see a countdown to it. I never see a combine for UFL players. More than likely, it's players that don't get drafted just get signed to undrafted free agent because they don't do a draft. I don't think, right?
It's a lot of players that have fizzled out of the league.
Okay.
So I was just looking at the Birmingham.
That's my favorite club.
Birmingham Barons roster.
Yes.
And there's like 5 names I recognize, but that's just because, for fantasy football purposes, I've studied up on some of these rookies over the years. So but they're all guys that have flamed out of the NFL, no longer have a job.
And then probably some undrafted free agent guys, right, that were just said, well, I'll give it a shot there. Yeah. Sort of like college players that don't get into the NBA, they go play overseas, right?
Correct.
It's the next place to play. I was reading an Associated Press recap of the Colorado Avalanche, and it's pretty glowing, and rightly so. The one thing... 2 things. This isn't in this piece, or maybe it is later because I've only gotten halfway through it. But their goalie situation, They have Blackwood and Edgewood, right?
Wedgwood, yeah.
Wedgwood. Prestwick at Wedgwood and Woodbury. First of all, it's sort of like, did you ever realize how much Ricky Rubio and Kirk Cousins' eyes looked a lot alike? That you would have two goalies. Have you ever noticed you'd have two goalies? One would be Wedgwood and the other would be Blackwood. How does one team have two goalies with their last names both include the word wood? It's very strange. Neither one of them are either one of these guys like, this is a top 5 goalie in the league, aren't they?
I mean, statistically, they were both very good this last year, but they deserve credit for that, but they were also playing behind a very good team.
Okay. But, I mean, they're not considered some of the best goalies in the league, so I guess you know.
Before this year, no.
Yeah. Okay. Next of all, this story says, depth on display. A strength of Colorado has been its depth. The 16 different players to score in the second round is tied for the most in a single series, according to NHL stats. The Landeskog character said, the depth is what's going to win coming down the stretch here in the playoffs. Guys are stepping up all over the place. And so my question would be to you, Tim, to be, we talked about trading for Hughes. But we gave up a lot of young capital for that, right? We gave up 1 pick and then 3 guys that were first-round picks. Does that hurt our depth, or do we still have enough draft picks coming up? Do we have a lot of young guys still in the pipeline? Was it the Minnesota Wild? Don't we have an Iowa-based team?
Yes.
Do we have enough there to create some of that depth? Or
we don't have a lot there, no. I mean, that was one of the risks of losing Quinn Hughes is you take a hit in your depth, right? Like, especially when you're without Joel Eriksson-Ek in the playoffs there, that's when a Marco Rossi. Now, Marco Rossi can't give you what Eki did, but it made you thinner at center so that Urov had to play minutes that he probably wasn't ready for yet. Liam Ogren, he's just maybe he played a little bit more of a different role in Vancouver, but here he wasn't going to be anything more probably than a bottom 6 winger. And then Booyam obviously was the one who has maybe the biggest ceiling of them all, but you're replacing him with Quinn Hughes.
So it's a chance you take to get one of the better players in the league to give up a lot. So, and again, But,
the Colorado series is a good example of, you go into the series going, man, we fear McKinnon, we fear Makar, Natchez, they're great up the middle with Brock Nelson and Kadri. Landeskog obviously has been around the block a little bit, but has been a star player during his tenure. Toes on the back end. Mm-hmm. And then, the last 2 games specifically, it was bottom 6 forwards that were killing us. Colton and Kelly scoring in game 4. Kelly had another one last night. They had their first 2 goals in the comeback were scored by bottom 6 forwards. Their game-winning goal in overtime was scored by, a bottom-tier defenseman. Now, we got depth scoring last night as well. Nick Foligno scored twice, and Nico Storm assisted both and was great. But even though McKinnon scored in every game in this series, it's not like it was their star players that were overwhelming us. Their depth out-depthed us.
Say that again. How did you say
I just said their depth out-depthed us.
Yes, they out-depthed us. And I guess that would
their depth was our death.
And what I'm wondering is the way, and again, when you win, it's all about the Landeskog says it's all about the depth you have at this time of year. And if that is true, then I do wonder where we're going to get some of that depth if we don't have a lot of depth down in the minors and this and that and the other thing. And, you could still win, I guess, but it is another question mark.
And I wouldn't say the Wild aren't deep. They're not Colorado deep, right? Like compared to the rest of the National Hockey League, the Wild have depth. And they had bottom 6 depth. It's just they don't have depth at the center position. So when Joel Eriksson-Ek goes out, even if they had Joel Eriksson-Ek, they would not be able to match up our centers versus Colorado's. But then you take them out, and there's just nobody. Urov is playing in a second-line center role. He's not ready for that yet. Ryan Hartman is not a first-line center. You had to move your fourth line center up to the second line last night just to try to get something there. So, generally speaking, it's not that we don't have depth. I think we had depth at defense. I think we have depth at the wing position. Our bottom six has depth. Our goaltending, we have depth. Where we're missing depth and even star power to a certain extent is the center position.
Getting back to the Denver goaltending situation, you know, all these sports teams, you always have nicknames for guys. Remember, the Twins used to always, more nosy and Mauer-Z. There was always Z. Every guy had a little Z at the end. Do they call them Blackie and Wedgie? Because you can't call them both Woody, right? Because you got Blackwood and Wedgwood.
They do call him Wedgie, actually.
Yeah, they have to, right?
Yeah.
And you have to call the other guy
Which is a funny nickname.
Yeah, because you can't call them both Woody, because he would say, hey, Woody, they'd both turn around at the same time, so that wouldn't work. So even the nicknames get complicated.
I would say both their goalies took us out to the woodshed in this series.
Wait, let me give you a rim shot, and that might even be more of a... rewrite and punch it up, but I think you're right. I'm about to say something controversial.
That's interesting.
I was looking at what my source said was a lead pipe cinch to be the Vikings schedule this year, and you already laughed at a couple of mine because they said they've already been released, that's not going to be happening. But I'm going to do the old, let's look at the schedule. Let's just play this schedule. Let's pretend this is the schedule, even though it's not. Okay, but all the teams are correct. Panthers, they're not any good, are they? They're okay.
Did they make the playoffs last year, or did they fail right at the last week? I forget. But I think they made the playoffs.
Well, if they did, they probably did at 9-8.
In the mediocre.
Saints, they're not any good, right?
No.
Buccaneers, that's nothing to fear. Commanders, I don't know, maybe they'll have a bounce back year, with Daniels. Jets, Dolphins, Colts, Patriots, Falcons, Niners could present a challenge. And then, of course, you have your two games against the Kitties, the Packers, and the Bears. This schedule isn't really that intimidating. Now, I know we don't intimidate them either. We always joke about that when fans of their local team will go, soft spot of our schedule's coming up. And you know that the cities the teams you're talking about, those fans are considering you as part of the soft spot of their schedule, right? But because there is so much parity in the league and such like that, that's not, to me, that daunting of, it's not like you're playing Philadelphia, playing Seattle, playing the Rams, and I know they don't do that. They don't just randomly pick out names. You play, you play a fourth place schedule or a third place schedule, whatever it is, and then you play one division from each conference or whatever. But I don't look at that as like, wow, we're going to have our work cut out for us. If we get competent quarterback play, if Kyle Murray plays okay at quarterback and the defense plays like it's capable of, and we get any kind of run game, we should be able to win 10, 12 games, don't you think? Am I being too ducky and bunny?
I literally talked about this with Rosen yesterday on the 10 of Fitzgerald that, last year the Vikings and the NFC North teams had to play the AFC North, which there's really not a break with those four teams. All four of them are typically, Baltimore's usually good. Pittsburgh's usually quality. Bengals, as long as Joe Burrow's healthy, is going to be a struggle. Cleveland, at least, seems to be good defensively. So there's not a layup in that group. And then they also had to face the NFC East, which didn't look that great going into the season, but ended up being a lot better. This year, as you just mentioned, they have the NFC South on all the NFC North teams get to play the NFC South. All four of them are winnable games. And then they're all playing the AFC East, which while New England and Buffalo will look to be tough games, the other two, Miami will be the worst team in the league this year. They are in complete rebuild mode. And the Jets, I guess have made some changes, but they're still the Jets. So literally 6 of those 8 games should be very, very winnable games for the for the Vikings and the rest of the NFC North. But in terms of trying to get wild card situation lined up against the other divisions that got to go against each other, it does line up favorably for them.
Here's a couple of text messages regarding the Wild. Again, a lot of negatives out there, tend to be. This one says, You're getting the pronunciation of toes wrong.
I always love that one.
Okay. We're one of the top-ranked all-sports talk shows in the country. I think we know.
I used to host Beyond the Pond and Wild Family.
Yeah.
I host Wild Weekly.
Correct. Here's another. Their stars outstarred our stars, is the way this text messenger is summing it up.
Well, I mean, Dallas, you could have gone into the series going, who's the biggest star of the group? And you could have an argument. We went into this knowing that we didn't have the biggest stars, that Nathan McKinnon is the biggest star. And I would say Quinn Hughes is about on Cale Makar's level. They're a little different stylistically in the strengths and weaknesses they have, but
well, Kaprizov isn't that far from McKinnon, is he, or is he? Is McKinnon that good? Because Kaprizov, I think
McKinnon
is a top 5
I
player.
think McKinnon and McDavid are in like a tier of their own.
Okay.
And then is Kaprizov somewhat close? Sure. But frankly, Boldy has been better than Kaprizov this year, and
right.
Boldy was better against Dallas. I was actually more disappointed with Boldy in this series than I was Kaprizov. I know we like to call out Kaprizov because he's the one who's about to be making $17 million, and Boldy's making a very affordable and favorable contract. Yeah. But Matt Boldy until last night has done nothing in the series against Colorado. Now he was great last night. He was terrific. But yeah, our stars were not. I thought Kaprizov had moments in this series.
Right.
And I thought he was better in this series than he was against Dallas. But, Nathan McKinnon was the biggest star, and I could have told you that before the series he was going to be the biggest star.
Does Faber have a favorable contract for the Wild? Thank you. Then there's this one, Teneby. It says, is it entirely possible that Wild fans vastly overrate our so-called superstars? It seems like actual superstars make their teams win. Could we be overrating some of our players or not necessarily?
I don't. It depends on who's rating them and what they're saying about them. I don't know. I'm sure there's lots of people that are overrating our stars, and there's lots of people underrating our stars.
Well, all I know is the people I trust and I listen to, all the hockey guys in town, have me convinced that, and I like parades, and I was convinced we were going to have a NHL Stanley Cup parade here, and you guys all let me down. You, Russo, Fallness, Micheletti, Nanny. Who are the other hockey people in town? Walls.
Carter. Tom Reed, Joe O'Donnell.
Yep. The ghost of Al Shaver. All of you let me down.
Sorry.
I believed. Once again, and I always do this. Every year I come with, this is what I think, and then all of a sudden before the season starts, hockey community, basketball community, Polat pocket protectors, football community convinces me different, and I go, am I the only guy out here that doesn't see it? Must be me. And then I change my mind, I hop on the bandwagon only to get my hopes dashed upon the rocks. How'd the Lieutenant Fitzgerald go, speaking of dashed upon the rocks?
We had lots of lifeboats yesterday. Trent Tucker was in the studio for an hour, and then obviously Rosen was in studio for an hour. Ryan Carter joined. I
got a text message from one of the negatives of the weather forecast. And it showed sunny skies, at 9 a.m., 10 a.m., 11 a.m. Then when noon, 1 and 2 came up, there was like that hurricane picture. Funny stuff, isn't it?
That's hilarious.
Isn't that hilarious? Yeah. You know what I like to say to those negatives? Why don't you try it sometime and see how easy it is? People think doing a talk show is just real simple. We've done it at the State Fair before. We entitled the bit, So You Think You Can Host a Talk Show, huh? We bring a couple of rubes up and say, go. Then give
it a shot.
Yeah, and about a minute in, you think I'm Fred Astaire. You should see the tap dancing they do. It's a lot more difficult than you think. Especially try doing a talk show while eating your lunch on the air. Try doing that sometime and see how easy it is. It's kind of difficult. Well, then to put a cap, we're going to talk to Rosen about it too, but for me to put a cap on the season, it's like, I'm with you. I think you got to get Hughes signed because he is that good. And even if he wasn't, let's say he's not as good as Micheletti says, a top 5 player of all time, you still gave up a lot to get him, and he is really good, so you can't just say, well, it didn't work. Let's move in another direction. You almost are forced to sign him, but I think it's a good thing. I think we need him, but I don't.
I will say if doom happens this summer and Quinn Hughes doesn't want to be here,
okay,
and he wants to go somewhere else, I still think if we trade him, we're going to get close to what we gave up for him. Like, he is still so highly thought of. Like, his performance here during the regular season and the playoffs is, it's not like his play dropped off and now his value dropped off. And
right.
we're not going to be able to get, like, with the Juracek, right? We gave up a first, a second, and a third in Damon Hunt for Juracek. And now he's not even on the roster anymore, and we gave him up for Bobby Brink. Like, that ended up being an awful trade. At the very least, you're going to be able to reaccumulate almost the exact same value you lost in getting Quinn Hughes, and you got to at least take a run at a cup. So even to me, that's the worst case scenario, and you're still going to be able to get a decent haul back for him.
Mark Rosen, legendary sportscaster. He is a sportscaster. He is a sports authority. People look to him as all-knowing and all-seeing. We'll see what he thinks about the mess the Wild had last night and about the Wolves coming up tomorrow night, about some of the comings and goings with the Twins, and then maybe some PGA Championship talk, and see if he has any insight on the Vikings schedule release. We'll talk about all those topics and more when the legendary Mark Rosen joins us next with Tennessee in Common on the Common Man program on the Fan.
Mark Rosen joins the